Yes, we are knocking out every Power 5 conference schedule here on MarkRogersTV. It is Wednesday, meaning 8 days to opening night on Thursday. I've got about 22 or 23 programs to knock out. I have vowed to do everybody in Power 5 conference football, including the Kansas Jayhawks, maybe the worst program in the country. And before you jump on me, Kansas fans, if there are Kansas football fans, I see that the stands are fairly full on Saturday, so somebody's out there watching, at least on game day, going to the games, having a good time tailgating, and not necessarily invested in football. But I'm talking about overall, the program down. The worst team last year may have been Purdue out of the Big Ten, but I trust that Purdue is going to come back. This Kansas program has been down forever, excluding the Todd Reesing years, and there have been some bright spots at times when they've won 6 games, gotten up to that 6-win level to get to a couple bowl games, but they had that unbelievable campaign, I believe, it's been about 7 years ago, going all the way to a BCS bowl game with 1 loss. All right, to Charlie Weiss's situation in 2014, and not much to break down here because we're looking at a program that needs to win a Big 12 game this season, needs to possibly pull out 2 Big 12 games. It's possible that they could do that. They need to go 2-1 in the non-conference play. That's where it starts, and I've got to respect the game against Duke, the second week of the season. So, if you've heard my breakdown here concerning the other conferences, the other schedules, I would love to see everybody in Power 5 conference football play 1 Power 5 conference team, especially in the Big 12 where they only have 3 non-conference games, not the 4. I would love to see everybody play 2 if you've got 4 non-conference games, that you play 2 against Power 5 teams, and preferably 1 against a really good team. I know there's only so many out there, but I'm talking about if you're Kansas playing a top 50 program, and they do that here in week 2, taking on Duke. They have to travel to North Carolina to take on the Dukies, and of course, the Blue Devils coming off the ACC championship game, almost upset Texas A&M in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, so that's a tall order for the Jayhawks going against Duke. They will be a huge underdog. That game is sandwiched by Southeast Missouri State and Central Michigan in Lawrence. We know that that is not a gimme, despite those teams playing in lesser football conferences, especially Central Michigan, the MAC. Southeast Missouri State, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head where they play. Know that they should not be competing with Kansas, but those will probably be fairly close football games, especially the third one, Central Michigan at Kansas. So the Jayhawks have to go 2-1 in the non-conference. Then everybody else is going to be the favorite against them. Everybody else is going to be the favorite. Their best chance to get out of conference play with a win is a home date with the Cyclones of Iowa State on November 8th. That would be the game to win, because otherwise they start off with Texas. Then they've got West Virginia on the road. They've got Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Baylor on the road, the Iowa State game, TCU, at Oklahoma, at Kansas State. That's a pretty daunting schedule for this program. The Big 12 is pretty darn good. I know that it didn't show up against the other Power 5 conference teams last year, going 4-8. 4-8 for the Big 12. That includes Oklahoma defeating Alabama. That includes a couple bowl victories. But 4-8 against the Power 5. And I think that was pretty indicative of the Big 12 last season, despite the exploits of Baylor during the regular season and despite what Oklahoma accomplished in the Sugar Bowl. Down year for the Big 12. But it's a conference that has one legitimate top 10 team in Oklahoma, a legitimate top 15 team in Baylor, and then after that, a lot of schools, a lot of programs, a lot of teams right now that are in that fringe top 25 range. Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Texas, for sure. Those 3 could be knocking on the door of the top 25. They aren't right now, but of course they've got talent, they've got ability, and they could sneak into the top 25. Am I missing somebody here? Kansas State, Oklahoma State, and Texas. We'll see what Texas Tech and TCU can offer this season. They're quality programs as well. All right, so for Kansas, the homework is win 1 game in the Big 12. If they could pull out 2, if they could win the game against Iowa State and somehow find another victory, I don't know, TCU at home, the Horned Frogs struggle on offense, that's a possibility, or the game against West Virginia, that's a possibility as well. So Kansas football, I don't know what the future is. The recruiting has been what the recruiting is. Kansas fans, educate me on Kansas football. Would love to see some comments in this section. I talk about Braxton Miller, and within 24 hours, I've got 15 comments. That's great. Kansas football fans, if you're out there, search Google, search through YouTube, find me, and let's talk some Jayhawk football, because I'm knocking out every Power 5 conference schedule, even the Jayhawks, right here on Mark Rogers TV.